Yay! Here are the top stories on the hour. More than 40 killed at women's prison in Honduras. 4 Israelis killed spurring revenge attack. Sounds detected in North Atlantic after missing submersible. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. Canadian aircraft has detected underwater noises in the North Atlantic in the search for a tourist submersible that vanished while on voyage to the wreck of the Titanic. The Coast Guard stated in a series of tweets that the discovery on Tuesday led search teams to relocate their underwater robotic search operations in an attempt to explore the origins of the noises early on Wednesday. The Coast Guard stated that the newly relocated searches by remotely operated vehicles came up empty-handed but will continue. The Coast Guard did not detail the nature or extent of the sounds that were detected or how they were picked up, but reports stated late on Tuesday that banging sounds were detected by Canadian aircraft at 30-minute intervals in the search area. More reports stated that the sounds were detected by sonar buoys deployed in the area close to the distressed position, and the additional sonar picked up more banging 4 hours later. The Titan, operated by US-based Ocean Gate Expeditions, was built to stay underwater for 96 hours according to its specifications, giving the 5 people aboard until Thursday morning before air runs out. 1 pilot and 4 passengers were inside the miniature sub early on Wednesday when it lost communication with a parent ship on the surface about an hour and 45 minutes into its 2-hour dive. 2 Palestinian attackers opened fire at a restaurant and gas station near an Israeli settlement in the West Bank, killing 4 Israelis and wounding several other people before they were shot dead as violence roared the occupied territory the day after a deadly Israeli military aid on Tuesday. Israeli settlers attempted to carry out revenge attacks across the northern West Bank, raising fear of a repeat of a rampage last February that resulted in damage to dozens of Palestinian homes and vehicles and the killing of a Palestinian man. Nablus official Ghassan Douglas stated that carloads of Israeli settlers drove to the northern Palestinian towns of Hawara, Beit Furik, Burin, and surrounding villages, setting dozens of cars on fire, hurling stones, and trying to set homes ablaze. There were no immediate reports of serious injuries. Tuesday's violence underscored the fragility of the situation in the West Bank, where on Monday an Israeli military raid into the northern Jenin refugee camp ignited some of the fiercest Israeli-Palestinian fighting in years, killing 6 Palestinians and wounding scores more. Palestinian militants targeted Israeli military vehicles with powerful roadside bombs, and Israeli forces deployed helicopter gunship to evacuate stranded troops. The militant group named the 2 Palestinians killed as 17-year-old Mohammed Hasha and 18-year-old Allah Hafnawi. Palestinian media reported that a 3rd person was wounded by the blast. A surge in violence in recent months has killed at least 130 Palestinians and 24 people on the Israeli side so far this year. Similarly, a bomb was mistakenly detonated in the Balata camp in the east of Nablus, killing 2 Palestinian youths and wounding another. Earlier, the Palestinian Red Crescent announced that 36 Palestinians were wounded when settlers attacked south of Nablus, which was supported by Zionist forces. Also, Palestinian medical sources disclosed that 15 Palestinians were wounded in the Zionist attack at the Beit Furik checkpoint east of Nablus. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reported on Tuesday that 170 Palestinians were martyred by Israeli regime since the beginning of the year 2023. According to Palestine's health ministry, 10 of the Palestinian martyrs are women and children. Early on Monday, Zionist media disclosed that as many as 5 Palestinians were dead and 91 others were wounded in the raid on the Jenin camp. The media also confirmed that 7 of their troops were injured in the Jenin attack. The regime used the Apache helicopters in the battle against Palestinian youths in the camp. This is while the Palestinian media stated that the usurping regime flew its 15th F-16 fighter jets to suppress the Palestinians in the raid in the West Bank camp. Tensions have been running high in the occupied West Bank over the past year, with the Israeli regime's military conducting violent raids under the pretext of detaining what it calls wanted Palestinians. At least 41 people were killed on Tuesday at a women's prison in Honduras, where violent clashes between rival gangs sparked a fire that tore through part of the facility. According to police spokesman Edgardo Barahona, the deadly violence occurred at a prison about 25 kilometers north of the capital, Tegucigalpa. It was unclear if they were all inmates. 5 other women were injured and taken to hospital. Hundreds of relatives of incarcerated women gathered outside the detention facility awaiting information about their loved ones. Heavily armed soldiers and police were seen entering and guarding the prison, while teams of firefighters were also present. Most of the victims died in the fire, while some bodies were riddled with bullets. An investigation is already underway to determine which gang launched the initial attack. Two drones were intercepted on their approach to a military base in the Moscow region. According to Andrei Vorobyov, debris was found after 2 drones were shot down near the village of Kalininets in the Narofamyansk district, approximately 50 kilometers from the capital, without causing damage or casualties. Mr. Vorobyov disclosed on Telegram on Wednesday that 2 drones crashed today at 5:30 and 5:50 in the morning on approach to storage units of a military base. Russian state news agency reported that another drone was shot down near Lukino village, also in the Moscow region. According to the state news agency, 2 of the drones were intercepted on their way to the Taman division of Russia's ground forces, with a division based in Kalininets. Russia's defense ministry stated that it had thwarted a Ukrainian drone attack on the Moscow region, adding that all 3 drones had been shot down. In May, drones struck the wealthy district of Moscow in what Russia claimed was a Ukrainian attack on the city. Still in Ukraine, delegates were in London on Wednesday for a donor conference to help the country repair damage inflicted by Russia's war of aggression. The scale of devastation is enormous, with some experts saying Ukraine needs to evacuate the equivalent of the Marshall Plan that helped rebuild Europe after World War II. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak opened the conference as co-host with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who appeared remotely. Zelensky said real projects for the reconstruction of Ukraine were needed. He stated that they must move from vision to agreement, and from agreements to real projects, and there is a Ukrainian delegation that will present concrete things. Sunak emphasized the need for greater private investments, something that he hoped could be encouraged with a new framework to ensure companies against war risk. Sunak stated that before this terrible war, Ukraine's economy was becoming a huge investment opportunity, and the truth is that the war has only proved how much Ukraine has to offer. European Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen outlined investment plans for the country, but stated that they were just the beginning. A Chinese envoy stated that the international community should be more patient with the political process in South Sudan, the youngest country in the world, on Tuesday. Dai Bing, China's deputy permanent representative to the United Nations, stated that in particular the international community should respect South Sudan's sovereignty and ownership and avoid external pressure and interference. Speaking at a UN Security Council briefing, Dai noted that South Sudan has continued to promote the implementation of the revitalized agreement, steadily advanced the constitution, making electoral processes, and reached an agreement on the sharing ratio of unified forces. He added that the country has taken substantive steps in the legislative work in such areas as national security, fiscal administration, and finance. He stated that the progresses deserve recognition. Dai disclosed that China encourages all parties to continue to act in line with the revitalized agreement and its extension roadmap, accelerate the work in key areas, and create favorable conditions for the political transition. He also stated that China has always attached great importance to the difficulties faced by South Sudan and actively provided assistance within its capacity. He also called on the International Monetary Fund and other international financial institutions to continue to increase their financial support to South Sudan. Finally, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian has made visits to both Qatar and Oman to meet senior Gulf officials in a flurry of diplomacy. In Doha, Mr. Amir-Abdollahian met Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim to discuss bilateral relations. Iran's news agency reported that Sheikh Tamim hailed the strong relations between the two countries and called for the comprehensive development of ties, particularly in the economic sphere. Iran's news agency reported that Mr. Amir-Abdollahian described political relations between the nations as excellent and called for bilateral trade ties to be expanded in proportion to their close and friendly relations. The minister's visit to Doha comes ahead of an imminent meeting of the Iran-Qatar Joint Economic Commission. The pair also discussed transport cooperation, particularly in the maritime sector. Mr. Amir-Abdollahian also praised Qatar's recent effort to resolve regional problems and called on both countries to enhance cooperation to ensure regional peace, stability, and security. And that is a wrap on the World News and VOP TV. I am Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.